Let me ask you a question. If I should ask you that, would you remember the last time a player won the best player here in Africa and the African footballer of the year without playing football in Europe? Would you be able to remember? Well, let me give you 10. Just think about it. The last time a player won the African footballer of the year without playing football in Europe. Think about it. Please. Yeah, it will be difficult to guess because the last time this happened was 41 years ago with Mohamed Timouni, who won the African Football of the Year whilst playing for AS FAR Rabat in Morocco. So, in 41 years, every single recipient of the award has always been from Europe. But this year, everything, everything could change with this man, Sadio Mane. And let me just explain. So in 2008, Egypt won the AFCON. They won the Africa Cup of Nations with Mohamed Aboutrika scoring a goal in the final. Aboutrika also plays for Al Ahly, and they won the Egypt League that year. They won the CAF Champions League that year also, becoming the African treble. They literally won the treble in Africa. He was the man who scored the winning goal in the final of the AFCON between Egypt and Cameroon. He was on top of his game and was expected to win the African Player of the Year. But when it was time for the awards to be announced, he went to Emmanuel Adebayo. And that season, Adebayo was insane. He was out of the world playing with Arsenal. I think he scored about 30 goals that season. He was joint top scorer of the EPO and was regarded not only one of the best strikers in Africa, but one of the best strikers in the world as of that point. So comparing and saying that Abu Treka to be the best player in Africa, whilst his competitor is Manuel Adebayo, and on the global stage, almost everybody was going to pick Adebayo over Abu Treka because Abu Treka was not going to be one of the best strikers in the world in 2008. When it comes to the African context, yes, he's going to make it. But then when he opened it to a global conversation, he wasn't going to get into that conversation. But then Adebayo was getting in. And by popular vote, Adebayo was the one selected to be the African Footballer of the Year in 2008. But this year, everything could change because Sadio Mane won the AFCON with Senegal on the pitch, even though he's still under contention with, that is, the Court of Arbitration for Sports. But on the pitch, it was Mane who won it with Senegal. And not only did he win the trophy, he played an instrumental role the whole tournament, especially in that final where he called his teammate to come back onto the pitch. He was crowned the best player of that tournament. And these two alone is like 50% recipe to winning the African Player of the Year because winning the trophy, playing an instrumental role in the final, and then also being named the best player of the tournament. That alone was like way up there. But even take it away from winning the African Cup of Nations, this is Sadio Mane who is playing his football in Saudi Arabia with Al Nassr in Saudi. And what really I think will push the Sadio story way up is that he's playing with Ronaldo. And Al Nassr have not won the league since 2019. They've not won the Saudi league since 2019. This season, they are now 8 points clear top of the league, 8 points clear top. And they have just 4 games to the end of the season, meaning they are so close, probably winning just 2 more games and then they'll win the league this year. So they are so close to winning the Saudi league. And, when Ronaldo is in the picture, it pushes a lot of PR talks. Like everybody is automatically elevated once he wins something because once Ronaldo wins the Saudi league, it's going to make the tabloids all over the world. And whilst all this noise is going on, we are looking at the African interest and who is there? Sadio Mane. And his performance with Al Nassr this season has also been superb. All the games he has played in this season, once he's starting for the club, they win. He has not lost a game when he starts. Once he starts in the win, and even in the league itself, he has gotten 9 goals and also I think 5 assists. So he has truly well contributed to the success of the team. So winning the Saudi League for the first time since 2019, ordinarily, it wouldn't have been a conversation point for the African Player of the Year. But with Ronaldo in the picture, this is going to, it's a huge PR talk. And I always say one thing that the African football on the year is not necessarily the best player in Africa because, I mean, I've seen the votes people, some people making. Sometimes you can say it's all about PR. They don't really, some of the people who vote, they don't really know what they are voting for, but then it's all about PR. And in terms of money, winning the AFCON, best player of the AFCON, and the PR of winning the Saudi League with Ronaldo. And also, with the World Cup coming up, so the FIFA World Cup is this year also in June, 2 months' time, less than 2 months actually for a World Cup to start. And you know he'll play a pivotal role for Senegal in that tournament. So for me, for sure, I think Sadio Mane is probably one of the best candidates to win the African Player of the Year this season. And also given the fact that there are not really any real contenders this season. I mean, who could you say will be the absolute contender to win the African Football of the Year? Unlike last season where Ashraf Hakimi had a phenomenal season. He won like literally almost every trophy with PSG. He played a critical part in all those tournaments. But this season, it's not really been so. Like the French Cup, PSG is out of the French Cup, and the French Liga has been a bit closer than it was last season between RC Lens and PSG. Even in the Champions League, um, it's that tough. Plus, Hakimi himself, it was an AFCON year. He didn't win it with Morocco. He played, I think, about only half the game. So he's not really that strong candidate as he was last year. Other players you could mention, maybe Ademola Lookman. He hasn't really been that much. Don't forget at the start of the season he was struggling with Atlanta. Um, he's done good with Atletico Madrid, but then he hasn't really given that exceptional performance this season. Who again could you mention? Brahim Diaz is not really starting games for Real Madrid, despite having a great AFCON. If you mention maybe Antoine Semenyo, he didn't play in the AFCON. So there's not really any candidate who you would say will give a strong competition, and you clearly say he that player has been a world beater this year. So for me, I think everything is pushing to Sadio Mane becoming the first player since 1985 to win the African Player of the Year whilst not playing in Africa. And that would even make him the first player in history to win the African Player of the Year whilst not playing in, that is, Europe, and also not playing in Africa. The closest this happened was in 2012 when Didier Drogba was second in the African Player of the Year. That was at the point where he was playing in China with, I think, Shanghai, one of the teams in China. He was second on the list. And even with that, most of the efforts you would know came from him taking Ivory Coast to the 2012 AFCON final where they lost some penalties to Zambia. And then also him winning the Champions League that season before he moved to China. He won the Champions League with Chelsea, where he played a crucial role in that tournament. He even scored the equalizer in the final. So you could argue that all of these pushed up to him placing second that year. But for Sadio Mane, he's played in Saudi the whole season and then he looks like a strong candidate. So for the first time, I'm really seeing that we'll be seeing something new as to who would be the best footballer in Africa for 2026. But let me know, who do you think is the candidate to win the African Player of the Year? Sadio Mane, or you have other options? Just let me know.